Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to be showcasing the installation of the 2024 and above Road Glide Street Glide cut and lid kit by Diamond Audio and Certain Vega. It's going to be step-by-step instructions to make this process easy, so if you decide to tackle this yourself, we've got your back. Let's do it. So in order to do our bags, what we're going to do is we're going to lift the lid. We're going to unwind these little guys. I'm going to put pressure, if you haven't taken these off before, up against. I'll put this right here in the seat. I'm going to put this up against, push it that way, just to do that. Give it a little bit of a helping hand. I'm going to go ahead and close it, lock it, got my knee up against it. I'm going to grab the bag and lift straight off. You can get some crash wrap. We sell it on the side itself as when you buy the kit. And basically, I'm going to protect this, and it's especially important on the Vivid Black because I don't want it to scratch at all. Okay, you can use regular tape, painter's tape, and tape it all up. I'm going to do this for easiness of fastness. Worst comes to worst, just make sure you have a clean blanket down like we do here. Because it makes a big difference on keeping this guy protected. And I know that we're taking the lid and we're going to tape that, but I do have to, at the same time, every now and then, move this piece back. At some point during this installation, we are going to be taking this back piece, flip it, in order to install the wire cable, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to go below the hinge here. I'm going to come back up. Once again, this is some crash wrap, and we do have it up on the side. All right, so that makes that super fast and easy there. Before we open this up and take this off, there's a lot of guys that won't take it off the bag. I understand, and I've done it both ways. I'm here to tell you, when we're cutting this piece with a jigsaw, and that jigsaw bounces out and hits something else, there's a lot less damage can happen. This is pretty cumbersome to spin around and do things on. I highly suggest to take this off. And the reason why is basically we have 6 screws that we're taking out, all T15s. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking out this cool piece right here, which is the bag holder, right? It's the strap that keeps it. Flip that up in there. Now we're going to take off these 4 screws right here. And that allows the lid to separate from the base unit. Okay, so 6 screws total. Takes you longer to hand do those than not. Cover right there. Now this pops off just like so. I promise you this is much easier to work with than balancing this. We'll just set that aside for right now. It's going to be much easier to balance that or not. We're going to tape off the entire lid here. So I don't want to protect it. I don't have scratches. And I'm not using the crash wrap in this instance because I want to be able to have a nice firm feel for what's going on, if that kind of makes sense. You'll see here in a second why. And I'm going to go ahead and lay this tape down. I know this might seem excessive, right? It's the only way, I believe, to do this correctly, to avoid any possible scratches, chips. I know several guys that don't even do this and they just go for it. But I can tell you right now, the first time you scratch a bag, you'll be wishing you spent the time doing it. Like I said, most of it is just to protect what I got going on. Now, I'm also going to go over this reflector, so in case it moves. We've had an issue before in the past of cutting one of these where somebody didn't see it, and somebody made the claim that it was not scratched before and had a small little scratch on it. So we've learned in the past just to go ahead and do that, including this lip right here. All right. I believe that we have enough tape on there. We are set to go. Stand right there. Very crucial that we all understand where this goes. I don't know if we're going to be able to see this as well. This here, because this kind of float, you don't want to put it out there. You want to push it so it's tight up against here. This sits right on the edge of that lip, just like that. So you got this lip that comes around here. This sits right on top of it. It should be taut all the way around, just like so. This lip starts over here, fits tight on this edge, and then it starts to go up. So as long as you got those two key points and make sure that it's snug and fits, then that's where you're going to want to be with it. Okay? At this stage, you can take some basic screws. They're available to you in the package. And you can screw, oops, it's not magnetic. I'm always double checking here. I'll make sure I'm nice and tight. That walked away. Probably check again. All right, so once we have that down, all we got to do, okay, I'm going to run 3 screws in here. Holds the template in place. Okay. Make sure that we're tight before we go cutting. Okay. And that's where we're sitting at right now. See if I can pull this picture over more here for us. Nope, that's going to be it. All right, so what I want to show you is we want to cut basically in the middle of all this hoopla. So if I take a Sharpie and I go right down the inside thing, that's where I want to be. Is I want to be in the middle. If that kind of makes sense, right? These are for pre-drill holes, which we'll get to in a second. So I want to be in the middle of these lines. And then when we get down here, I don't know, and they're on crack, what's supposed to happen. So you're going to have to freelance this. I've yet to figure out this. It has to do with a mold. I don't quite understand it. I don't get it, but that's what we're dealt with. So basically, this stage I'm going to come in and I'm going to kind of, I can see where that's basically there. And I'd rather be a little long on this than a little short, if that makes sense. Because I can always come back and trim that. So I just basically come off here like an 1/8. It's basically a 1/4 of an inch, I believe. 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch. Let me grab a tape measure. I don't have that handy. Let me do this real quick and I'll tell you. We are basically 3/16 off this edge right here. For you guys that don't know on a tape measure, that's 3 of the little lines. Shout out to all my friends that don't know how to read a tape measure. Yeah, it's going to be basically 3 of those little lines. That's 3/16. All right. It's funny if you know what I'm talking about. All right, so we got this all done. And now I got to drill a couple holes. And that's what these are for, to allow my jigsaw to get in there. Now, you can use all kinds of tools to cut this. You can use a oscillating multi-tool, for example. You can use a body saw if you're really, that's what I typically use. So I do a little differently, body saw, but we're going to show you today jigsaw because this is the way it was designed, because everybody's got one of those at home. So let me pre-drill these real quick. Grab some drill bits. And I'm just trying to find a drill bit that goes inside here. It's not too crazy. Now, I don't need to drill in every one of these holes. If you have to figure out why they did that, what I'm going to cut is I'm going to look where my jigsaw is going to want to go in here to make this bend, or in here to make this bend. And so I know I can go around the corner here. At some point, I got to go this way to get to that front edge. So I'm going to drill this hole. So I know I can go this way. I know this can come here. And then I just got to turn that bit. So I got to go straight here. So I need one more here to go both ways. I can go this way and I can go this way. Okay. Come down here, so I know I need to drill in this direction. And what do I want? I'm going to do, well, I got this way and then I can follow this all the way around here. So I'm good. I just need those. And go bloop, and I go bloop, bloop. All right. So it goes over the metal, this plastic sleeve that I just took off. I like that. I want to take it one step further. I'm going to go ahead and run some tape on here. If you don't have a plastic, this is a pro tip. If you don't have a plastic piece on your jigsaw, you can do this. This helps marring to stop, if that makes sense. So you guys can do this at home as well too. I don't want to use the shallow blades. And the reason why I don't want to do that, as you can see, that was up in the spline. It would stop right about there. Okay, so I would lose like almost 1.5 inches of blade. What will happen is, and the reason why I don't want to do that, because as you're going along and it catches, or you go to do something, it bounces out and then it goes there. With the longer blade, allows you to have more control, and it's not going to bounce out as you go along because we have curves. So once you lift this up to go to a curve, it could bounce out. So you want to make sure you put a longer blade in there. And like I said, we're going to be cutting right down the center of these pieces right here, right? We're going to go right down the center of all these guys. This one, we're not going to go down the center because of this giantness, but we've matched this line with the rest of it. So let's go ahead and get my safety goggles on so I don't hurt myself. Got a piece of plastic in my eye. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this. And just so you guys know, slow and steady always wins the race. And when I get to these marks right here, I'm just going to blast straight through them. Try not to get my head in there. All right. So see if I can pull this up a little bit and try not to get to head. So the other thing I want to show you guys too, this comes from my fabrication skills and the school I run. When you're jigsawing something, if you tuck this elbow in, right, the jigsaw has less to do this. If I have it out here, it's super easy for that to go. Think of like a firearm, for example, right? If you got a good stance and you're moving, it's not going to wiggle around, but if you hold it up like this, it can move around. Same type of concept here with the jigsaw. So we keep that kind of tight to the body. We go nice and slow. You can see that corner really is where that longer blade comes into effect, right? It really helps us out, so we don't have a problem with that. So let's go ahead and now cut this section. We got to go this way first. I'm going to go straight down this way first. I know I gave you guys just the speech about the elbow, but I'm trying to make sure you guys can see this on camera, so I am going to be stretched out over it a little bit more. But we try to do that the best we can so you can see it on film. As you can notice, I am using my thumb right here as a guide. This is where it gets a little tricky. I'm hoping to be able to showcase this a little bit. All right. Okay, so now I need to cut this way first so I can come back and cut this way. Now, I just got to come in here and cut this last line where these big hole pieces are right there. All right, so now we've taken that off. And one of the things I want to kind of talk to you guys about a little bit is you can see if I had that on the bag how much harder that would be to maneuver and cut that safe. I think you guys can understand that now. Where a little bit more time, in my opinion, take that off gives you way more control over that. Yes, you got a big thing, but once you start doing that front edge, trust me on that, it's not fun. So I'm just going to set the jigsaw aside real quick. And I got to clean off all the plastic shavings. But before I do that, I'm going to pop the rest of the template off. I'm going to do a quick test fit to the piece because I can trim this still. Like I can take a file, I can come in here, I can recut. But theoretically, if we've done this somewhat like we should have in those lines, you can flip it over and you can see that we have cut this really nice. Okay, we got a little bit more gap up here. That was that front edge, which is fine. But we're sitting here really nice, so I'm not going to need to do any more filing or cutting. This guy's going to be ready to mount in there, and I'm really happy with that. This piece has also got a seal all the way across the edge, so I'll go ahead and pause. I'm going to go ahead and clean off the plastic, and then we'll pull the tape off and we'll assemble it. Cool, so now we got this piece ready to rock and roll. So we're going to peel some of the tape, but not all the tape. And the reason why I want to peel some of the tape, because if I'm flipping it upside down, doing some things, I don't want this to get scratched. So I'm going to peel basically where this goes, and we'll finish peeling it when it's all said and done. And let's go ahead and mount this kit, because it's pretty straightforward from here. So my area to peel this tape is going to be right around here. Okay. Peel this off. All right, so basically I'm going to set my grill back down inside here. And we get a nice tight fit. You notice it doesn't wiggle around a ton, and that's the way we want it. Turn this back upside down. Now you know why I want to keep some more of that tape on there. And I'm going to make sure that it fits within the parameters here. I want to make sure that we have nothing that's keeping it from going flat anywhere. It's not rubbing on any plastic. And then once I got that done, I can then put that piece on there, grab our black stainless oxidized machine screws, and then I'm going to go ahead and start these. This is actually going to be easier. We're going to start these with the T15. You really got to compress this with your hand first to get them started. The nice thing about these being threaded is the old school versions of some other brands out there is they didn't do a mechanical thread. They just did a screw into plastic and they give over time. So this allows serviceability and all that good stuff to happen. And like most of the motorcycle stuff that we do, yes, I could do hand drivers if you got them. You gotta at least make sure you start them. They're stainless, so you can strip fittings and things of that nature pretty easy. We have pretty much, along with many shops, have just gone with hand tools. It takes a little bit longer, but it allows you to have a feel to make sure that you're not stripping out bolts and threads. And to be quite honest with you, it just kind of, for me, brings back that old, I'm a mechanic feel, working on my bike, right? I just think it's just kind of a cool feeling. All right, so there you go. We've got our piece. You want to double check, make sure that the seal is being pushed down correctly. And we're sealed all the way around. Now our cable comes into this critter. You're going to see one end of the cable that's got green and white, and then white and red, and the two little ones. We'll get to those in a second because those can help us out. Okay, so this is going to be right side or brake, and left is going to be clutch side or left. So the green, white, white, and red. It does not matter on the ones that go inside because they're the same colors. Cool part is about these little additional wires right here that come with this. This is for the HXM speakers. They have the LEDs. So this would plug in, and then this goes to the speaker. This would plug in. This comes out here. This is going to end up plugging in and going to this end, which then goes up front, which gives you those leads up front on these. Cool part about that is if you're not doing LEDs like this one and the platinum, we're putting horns in. So the cool part about having these ones here is now I've got my additional wires for my horns. There are 3 wires on here, but we're only going to worry about 2 for our horns. So we already have them, and I don't have to run additional cable or anything, or purchase a 6-channel backbone harness, which, by the way, we developed, and it's really cool. Also, if you're just doing a standard system, you also have the opportunity to use these wires for the speakers, and you can use the heavier set wire for like a mid-bass driver or something if you needed to. So let's go ahead and put this wire in here. Now, these come with little shields on the older ones. The new ones, for some reason, they don't have that. So we're going to develop a product, but until then, we have just got the old-fashioned, get a hole in there. I don't want to make it too big of a hole, but we got to get a hole in there to handle all these guys. And I want to make sure that we are. So it's going to be the same hole as we drilled for that guy. And I'm going to go ahead. What you see is you got a flat spot that bends down, and then it goes this way. So let me cut down to that so you guys can see that. I don't know if you can see that from there. It's on the inside edge. There you go. You can see it right there. We're going to go just past that. I'm going to Sharpie this so you know. And you just got to eyeball this one. We don't want it on this side. We want it right below. So we can just put a plus mark right there. That's where we're going to drill. I'll give you a science and math on this. We're going to go basically 5/8 down from here. And it is right in the middle, right? So this is 2 inches wide. It's going to be an inch right there. So 5/8 down or 1/2 inch doesn't make a difference. But 5/8 inch in, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to just make one hole. Okay. And this bit size is 5/16. You can get any kind of bit set like Home Depot or Lowe's. The DeWalt ones we use quite a bit, kit, so I highly suggest those. So it's going to be too much for this plug, but we're not using that plug. So I'd have to make this plug bigger if I HXM, but we are not going to need that plug because we're going to use that for our, whatchamacallit, we're going to be using that for our tweeter horn driver, which we're going to put in. So let me do this real quick. I want to cut this tab off, and I don't think I have a tool in here to do that. I thought I did. I'll be right back. I got to get a tool. So I've cut the ends off of these guys. I'm going to go through this hole. Get the little plastic sleeve. It's going to be a tight fit, but that's kind of what I want. We're going to hang out about that far. You're going to basically go down to where this shrink tube stops, right? That's how much wire we want to hang out. And if you have a little bit of tape, you can make that completely stealth by taping that. What we got is on the inside is we're coming around here, okay? And so included in your package is going to be some of these handy dandy little zip tie holders to hold this critter down. And I am going to put the first one there. It's kind of hard to do from that angle, right? Pull this guy down until it's tight. We'll come back and we'll trim those later, but we can also leave them if they're soft. We'll do another one right here in the corner. Like I said, I like to get these guys on here a little bit easier to do. And we went to these guys instead. Sometimes you might just get the ones you stick on, add the zip tie. I was trying to save steps for everybody. So we're going to come across here. We're going to try to get this just so it stays out of the way as much as possible. You can get it closer up here, but just remember to keep distance from everything that can happen when you close the lid. That's why I try to avoid that if I can. And then I'm going to follow this ridge. I don't know if you guys can see that. Nope, I just blocked it completely out of it. We'll follow this ridge, and then we're going to come basically, I'm just going to put one here, and then we'll put the lid on. I'll show you where we adjust that last one. It's just better visually to do it. Okay, we'll come adjust those. We can leave those in there. They're not sharp. We can definitely leave those in there. So let's get the lid back on. It'll be our next step, and then we can get our final piece there. Toss the wire inside. We're going to grab this piece right here and peel back the tape. That comes up like that. All right, so you see we're done. I'm going to flip that up. We're going to put, and I want to screw the inside ones in first because of our the cloth. If you remember right, your hinge goes right there on the outside. So we want to do the inside ones first. And so just to remind yourselves, we have the 4 threaded screws, and then we have the 2 kind of really aggressive plastic screws. Those plastic ones go up here. Don't get those confused. We want to put the machine screws in on this side. Okay. This is the part where you go, oh, I wish I didn't take that off because it's a little tricky, but we'll get there. Key to this is not to cross thread any of your screws. So it pops down in there. I can start this with my hand. Once you get that one started, you can start the second inner one. Okay. So once you got 2 started, you can definitely crank those guys down because it won't twist. Plus, the heads of them are going to be covered once we put the piece in. Now you guys will really understand why I still keep the tape on here along with the white tape on the actual bucket itself. We shall get these guys on here first. Okay. That's my next threaded ones. Okay, so now we know that our cable, we want to come in up underneath here at some point. This ridge is flat right here, so I don't want to poke it under there. I want to come on the inside. Now this has got a little spot right here, the notch for the cable for the lock system. So I like to come just right underneath there. This guy can get down there on the sticky side, and I can come up. I can put one more, our last and final 5th one on here. If you end up doing those bag liners, they do a really good job hiding this too, just so you guys know. Pretty big fan of them. I think they look good. Just don't get the cheap ones off eBay. They're horrible. All right, so that wire now comes up here, and we're able to go right to our speaker and get that guy mounted. So that being said, we can now add this critter right there, and we can put our screws. Okay, we've got some extra wire here, so we know roughly we want this to come inside here and get some looseness, and I can zip tie, which I can show you there before we get done. So let me do that real quick so we can come down. So you might want to do this before you put this top on. I was doing that just to show you the reassembly. I can zip tie this. I want to leave enough slack that the lid can open all the way, right? So I can run a zip tie right here. Before I tighten that all the way, I want to make sure the lid's all the way open. So I have enough slack here, and then this piece is going to hide it as it closes, okay? Take my flush cutters because I don't want to reach up in there. Now, if you're doing the MP speaker and you got that crossover, this area right here is a good place to zip tie that. This particular install is getting our 6x9 coaxial subwoofers, which will need the little rings that come inside here, which are going to mount just like so. This allows for the cone to move. Show you that so you guys get an understanding. So this has a long throw. This is the, let's get this way. This is the coaxial subwoofer. It's got a really long throw on that cone. So if we just put it in there, it's going to bounce and hit that. But if we do the spacer ring, as you can see right here, it gives it enough oomph to do that with, right? So it's going to mount on there, and that's what this comes for. It allows us to have that additional throw and not bottom out on this ring right here. So these guys mount in. Okay, so it's nice and tight. Sorry, I'm finding screws that I just dropped. Okay, so now we're ready to put the driver itself on here. We want to make sure that these line up in those 4 holes. Once we do that, all we got to do is screw that guy in. And now I'm allowed to cut this where I need to cut it. Reason why I'm taking this off really quickly, this is our platinum system going in, so we have our horn driver. It's going to get mounted on a bracket, but for the bag purposes right now, we're just showing you the installation of this guy. There. You can tin these if you want with solder. It makes a nice connection to pull things in and out if you need to. You can use a ferrule if you want. Okay. And then these guys, like I said, it's our platinum system, so I'm just going to tuck this away real quick for you guys because I want you to see. Okay, I'm going to use some of the cloth tape that we have here. This is for sale on the website as well to clean this up. You'll probably see that as optional items. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to tape up these horn drivers cables that will be installed later. Pretty cool. We got a cool new kit coming out soon for that. I don't want to let the monkey out of the bag because I'm not sure exactly when this is going to launch. So I can just do that and I can put one more zip tie down here. Keep this guy out of the way. Okay. Like I said, these things look better with ferrules or solder, but you don't have to. And I will trim this. All we got left to do is we're going to screw the actual driver in and then flip that flap back over and we are all set to go. So cut back to this. Screw the coaxial sub. So this guy is kind of cool. This is going to give you that low end bass that you're looking for in a 6x9 format, which is really cool. It's an actual coax subwoofer, and in the kit and being ported, it jams for sure. And it doesn't, I take this for the person who doesn't want to necessarily have an 8 or 10 inch mid bass driver. Doesn't want to give up the room, but at the same time, they want to have that low end frequency. And just so everybody understands, anything about 40 miles, 35 miles, 40 miles an hour, right in that range, and faster, you're not going to hear the bass wave. It's behind you. It's just science. It's behind you. That bass wave is behind you. So that's why we talk a lot about parking lot sound and highway sound. So this is, you're going to be able to feel the mid bass vibrate a little bit. But when you get in highway speeds, you're going to lose pretty much volume because it's not designed that. But this is a good all-around town combo highway driver. And then we're going to put the horn driver into this as well too because it's the platinum kit, and that's going to give that volume for highway sound. So let's just finish this up real quick so we can get this install taken care of and top off a couple of things. So let's grab our, and by the way, these are all Torx T15s. We've been playing with. All right, so we have these guys in here. I'm going to take some flush trims. I can get rid of them. They get kind of pokey, so sometimes I wonder if it's just easier to leave the long parts on there, but they look cleaner when you take them off. So we're ready to pull tape, but before I pull tape, I want to give you one last pro tip. I always like to take cloth tape and put it on here. I don't like to see the cables, so you can kind of do this. They're not that much money, like $4 or $5 on the website, whatever it is, to add the tape. I highly suggest it. Comes in handy for all this. All right. And that's it. We're ready to pull the tape off and put it on the bike. This is our step-by-step instructions on doing a cut-in lid kit. It's not that time. Just take your time and don't stress on it, and really watch when you're cutting. Go nice and slow. Keep the elbow tucked if you can, and you're good to go. And you're set. So this is ready to get peeled, put back on the bike. We've completely protected the paint as we've worked on it, which makes it super nice. So I'm not worried about scratches and that type of thing. So, all right. So we got the factory stuff, one thing, right? We got aftermarket. This thing just sits on there, and these little guys go there. So I'm just gonna move this out of the way. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of move that out of the way. I want these to go down over here. Do this side first. We'll get a better close-up loop on that side, so we can go this Okay, so this being said, we can scrutinize where we're going to put these guys at. You don't want to get too far down. There's a reason why these cables are up here, just so everybody knows. There's cables right here due to the fact that the tires, like in the center, there's a little block off thing here, but you can see the tire right down in here. It's right there, right? So we want to be careful. There's a pocket here that separates all that the extra cable can squish down right there, right? So let's get there. We want some movement there. This will come across, we'll route that way. So it's back in here, and this is ready to plug that in. These go there, and that goes there. All right, move that side. Take this cover off. Set here for safekeeping. You can see this side's going to be a little bit different. We'll rotate this out of the way. I don't care about this guy. And it's going to go, there's a notch right there is where that's going to go down. So we want to come through, and you can feel these factory wires. We've got to be careful of the wheel, everything there to be watch out for. I'm going to get this out of our way. As this pops up, just want to make sure that we can get our cable where I want it. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go on top of the brake lines up here. This connector. I'm going to wiggle it all the way over, just like that. And pull this back, just like the other side. Tuck that guy right in there, so that plate can go right back on it. Now we're ready to rock and roll. Get this guy in here, get it taped up. You don't have to tape this. I just think it looks better. And I'm not even a real tape fan, to be honest with you. All right. A couple zip ties here. Pull the excess of here. We want about that much hanging down because it's going to click in. The bag's going to hold it tight. It's going to keep it out of the wheel. There's a factory mounting tab right here. And basically where that piece Y connects is about where you want to leave it at. Okay, it's going to come up here. Like I said, I want to keep this away from any kind of chance of getting down in that wheel. So I always like to pull a secondary cable tie just to keep it from drooping in that way. Put my tabs down, and then that cable can pop right like that. Click it in. Okay, nice and tight. Push those straight down, out of the way. Pull the lid up. Get our bolts started. All right, let's get listen to it.